At this point, I really don't want to mess up my set, so I don't want to get fingerprints on everything. This is where I'm going to use my white gloves. I'm going to use them to help clean up stuff and make sure that I don't get fingerprints on everything. Like I know when I brought this over here, I got some fingerprints on it, so I'm just going to kind of clean them up a little bit with these gloves, get rid of them now. And I can give myself a little coffee in this thing without getting it fingerprinted. Before I do that, I'm going to clean it just a hair. The closer attention I pay to the details as I'm preparing, the faster the shoot's going to go. The faster the retouching is going to go, because I really won't need to do much of anything. And you'll notice, like things with the coffee, I'm just being smart. I'm not pouring it on set. I'm not pouring it over the set. I'm pouring it off set because I don't want to ruin this fabric. I don't want to mess anything up back there. I also brought out a little bit of a sugar container. I think I might want to throw that out there as well, see what that gives me. All right, so I'm going to get down nice and low, take a quick look. I am going to put on my lens hood because I'm kind of looking into that light a little bit. Don't want to get any flare. I think that's looking pretty good. I am going to make a little bit of an adjustment with the plate. I'm going to rotate this around a little bit. And just bring a couple crumbs up front. In fact, I'm going to get some crumbs because I want to make this a little bit more natural in its feel. I don't want it to be so hyper perfect. So I just went over to my cutting board and pulled off some of the scraps, some of the stuff that just came off when I was cutting it. I'm just going to kind of put them out there. Like I even have a whole cranberry that came out of the bread. I might take a look at that and see what that looks like. Might be cool. Might be too much. I like it. I think it's pretty. I think I want to round it out a little bit more. I'm liking what I'm starting to see here with this back fig. I want to see more of it. So I'm just going to tip it a little bit. I think I'm going to do my washer trick and cheat that guy just a bit. So I'm using the washer just to give it a way to reposition my fig. Simple little things like that can make a big, that makes a huge difference. I think I want to raise it up just a little bit more, but you can see how nice it got as it starts to come around towards the camera. Let's see what this looks like. It's not bad, but I think it's missing a little bit of life. One, the coffee's too black, so I want to lighten that up. I'm going to make this a kind of a blonde coffee, put a little cream in there, and I want the background to get a little bit hotter. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reposition my light. I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to feather it out a little bit. I want it to be closest to this part of the background as it pushes light onto here. So we're going to move this in. And we're going to blonde out that coffee just a hair. One of the things you'll notice is I'm actually going to pour this on set. I talked about doing it offset as much as possible. Right now, I've got to blond this out. I like the position of everything, so I don't want to move it. I'm going to be very deliberate. I've grabbed one of my gloves. I'm going to use it as a rag if needed. But I'm just going to be very, very careful as I do this. And I'm going to make sure that I don't drip anything on set. I'd rather get it on my hands and on my jeans than on my set. So again, deliberate, slow, intentional. Like I'm going to go boom. The only way it's going to drip is down that point right into my hand, not on my set. All right, let's see what this looks like now that I've made a couple adjustments. Definitely better. I think I want to push it even further. Oh, that's kind of nice. Very easy to adjust these Hensel lights. I'm liking them. The more I play with them, the more I like them. Better. Starting to feel a little bit more like a sunny morning. That light is coming in. It's got good direction. I'm going to check my focus, make sure I'm nice and sharp. Look how good that fig looks. It's really pretty. Now, there are a couple of spots here that I'll fix in post. There's a little bit of a nick at the bottom of it. Nothing we can do about that. It is the way it is. So we're just going to fix it in post. But that is looking pretty cool. Now, those colors are there, but they're faint. These aren't quite perfect. So what we'll do in post is actually saturate that a little bit, get those colors to pop a little bit more. Where there's red, we're going to add more red. Where there's green, we're going to add a little bit more green. Maybe even a little cyan into it too, just to make it a little bit deeper and a little bit richer. I could make those changes in Capture One without question, but what I want to do is keep the amount that I'm doing on set down to a minimum, and I want to give myself the ability to make all those adjustments in post. I like to come back actually at an image and look at it and see, okay, what do I want to add to it? I think it's always good to come at something with a fresh set of eyes. So sometimes if I walk away with it when I haven't done too many changes to it, I can come back with a fresh set of eyes and think, okay, this is where I want to add stuff. I often do that with my retouching. I'll retouch something, I'll walk away from it for a day or two, come back to it, and see if I'm still comfortable with those changes. Because quite frankly, there are a lot of times when you kind of get into the groove of something and you think you're going down the right track. In reality, you may be going too far. I think it's a good thing to do to pause and come back and look at something. An old darkroom teacher taught me once that, how do you know that you made a good print in the darkroom? You keep making it slightly better, slightly better, slightly better until it's gone bad. Once you've gone too far, then you know 1 step or 2 steps back was the right print. Same thing with post-production. You can go too far, take a pause, maybe a step back is where you need to be. So that's why I try not to do too much in the capture program while I'm working. I want things to be fairly neutral and true to life, but that's just me. That's the way I work. You don't have to do it that way. It's just my personal approach. Okay, now that I've had a chance to look at this for a bit, and again, I let my eyes kind of defocus so I can see shape and not detail. I'm seeing that I've got 2 figs right on top of each other right back here. One is literally just a skosh off of the other. And the meat of this, or that kind of rind is really white, and I'm not liking that. I want to get some color in there. So unfortunately, the 2 in back are the ones that I need to change. So I'm going to make a change right here on set. Need a little cutting board. So again, I'm going to take precautions with my set, and I'm going to pull these guys out. This one was really not visible, so I'm going to move it. One, two, three. And I've got to be very delicate here, because I don't want to move the entirety of the set. Just a few of these. I'm curious. I want to see what that looks like. I kind of like having a fig down there. It's just a little bit of shape. I think I'm going to fine tune it, but it's kind of nice to have something down there. This one still isn't quite right. It's a little bit flat, so Let's grab one of our washers, maybe two, and see if we can raise that up a little bit. Pop one again. Yeah, much nicer. I like it. So now I'm watching that shape. I brought it around too much, and you can see where I've created a tangent where the top of that fig is absolutely intersecting with the back side of that plate as it goes around. I don't want that. That doesn't look good at all. My eye stops there. You don't want to create a dead spot for the eye where it just lands. You want to keep the eye moving, and that's not doing it. So we're going to go and we're going to shift that a little bit. So one of the things you may notice here, in a lot of the plates that we've shot over the last couple days, I'm cutting off part of the plate. Here I'm not doing that. I want to create a little bit more of the environment and see more of the setting because I want to kind of drive home this morning message. It kind of ties in with the sandwich, which is a little bit of an unusual breakfast sandwich. So I want to make sure that people get the sense that it's kind of morning time. So in order to do that, I'm seeing a little bit more of the set. I'm still creating a little bit of mystery by knowing that there's stuff going off. You don't exactly know everything that's in the rest of that environment, so it's leaving a bit up to the imagination of the viewer. But here I'm seeing more of the plate. The other thing that works about this, it's a glass plate. So the very nature of the glass plate, it's not hard. It doesn't, look the same way a porcelain plate does, where it's a solid object. This is transparent, so it lets you see some of the set. I think that lends itself towards the mystery. The other thing that I'm doing is you can see how the plate is kind of just pushing off the edge, which again is creating a little bit of a question in the viewer. Why is that plate on the edge? Why is it scooted over just a little bit? It's a very subtle and subliminal little message, but I'm trying to create these questions in the viewer's mind. Remember, if I can get them to stop and think and look just for a second, I've won because I've engaged them with the photograph. And people are bombarded with thousands and thousands of photographs a day. So I want to grab their attention and make them pause and think even just for a moment. So one of the things I'm doing in order to do that is capitalizing on the fact that this becomes very soft, it's a highlight, it's on the edge, and it's just going to make the eye pause. So that's why I'm actually seeing the entirety of this plate. It's kind of cool. Okay, couple more things to do, and then we're done. So the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to freshen these guys up. They're starting to look just a little bit dry. They've been on set now for a few minutes, and they've been cut as well. So their edges are starting to dry out. I'm just going to go ahead and give them some moisture. It's going to really glisten them up. They're going to look fresher and far more alive. Particularly the one on the plate is just starting to really croak. This is something you want to pay close attention to with your food. You don't want to let it dry out. You don't want to make it too wet because you don't want it to look oily, but you want to make it feel fresh and alive and vital. All right, let's take a quick look, see where we are. I do feel like my fill light is starting to die a little bit, so I'm going to change that. Which, it's really hard to see what's going on in here with all this ambient. Oh, much better. Look at the difference there. So when I brought that light around to the back, it changed the fill light which was going on. Those guys were kind of dying quite a bit. Now I brought some more light on there and it's giving it some pop. It's actually a little too much. I'm going to back it off just a hair. Or I may go with a white card instead. Let's first back it off and see what we get. Wow, really subtle movements, they can make a big difference. I'm just going to push this in a hair and pop it again. Yeah, dig it. You can see, I barely move that thing a half an inch, and you can see the difference in the light exposure as it comes up. Boom. All right, I'm really happy with this shot, so now I want to do some variations on it. For your sake, we're going to go ahead and switch the modifier out. I want to see what this looks like with one of the other modifiers that we have here in the studio, just to see what kind of quality of light we get. Then I'm actually going to put the extension tube on this 85 and come in a little bit tighter, because I want to see what we can get out of the same 85 that you would use for a portrait lens. What are we going to get when we use a teleconverter or an extension tube to get in there nice and tight and make this more of a macro shot? And then the last thing we're going to do is drizzle a little bit of honey on it. Honey is going to change the whole thing. In fact, honey is not going to sit for a long time at all. It's going to be kind of like you got it for a second and then it's done. So that's the last thing that we're going to experiment with.